Hey, it looks like I might have glossed over the dialog box. So I'm going to go into a little bit more detail with that and then get this posted so that you'll be able to recreate this on your own. So here's the scene tree for it. We have a 9-patch rect, which is what we've been using in, if I open up Battle, I'll show you. You can see I don't know how far you are in the series yet, but we use that 9-patch on these player cards. We also use it down here on these the menu and then the enemy info panel. Okay, so you can see they all have that same icon and the same texture. Let's just make sure you get your 9-patch set up right, and then it has the patch margins. Remember, these are based on the amount of pixels that you need to come in, right? And then that texture is, you want it to look something like this. Now, if you want more of a rounded edge, you're going to have a larger image, right? Because you need more pixels to do that. I just have a simple, like 3-pixel diagonal on each corner. We could talk about 9-patch windows another time. But so I have a margin container, which gives a buffer for the text. See how it creates that orange outline? That's where the text is going to begin, and you can see it butts right up against that um, that left margin there. And then we have a cursor down, which is a custom class I made. You don't absolutely need that. I'll get into that a little bit later in the video. But you know what? I guess we're talking about the scenes right now, so I should probably look at that real quick. Let's close battle. You can see this is real simple. It doesn't even have a script. All it is a texture rect that I put a texture in. And that texture is an animated texture. Now I think I might have shown you this in the video, but in case I didn't, it's a simple, I think we can pull this up. What did I do? So these are separate images. For an animated texture, I found you cannot use an atlas texture, which is what I've normally used, where it's like a sprite sheet, right? Like normally I'd have these 2 frames on the same image. That's what I'm trying to say. So this, all it is, I can probably demonstrate this better if we go to the GUI art folder. And I'll show you exactly what's happening. So here's cursor 1, and just watch in the top right as I click into these. See what's happening? And so this bottom row of pixels is transparent, and all I'm doing in that second frame is just sliding everything down. Now cursor down, I'm not sure why it's not playing in the editor, but uh, it does work in the code. Anyway, so you have 2 frames, you don't pause it, no one shot. I do 4 FPS, so you can modify that to something that suits you. And then you put each of the textures in. It's as simple as that. You can add a delay to the frames individually. That's up to you. And there are other settings that you have for every texture. But you can see this is like all of these right here in this purple outline here. It's kind of hard to see. That's specifically, oh, not the purple. No, I'm sorry. Everything in this blue one, that's just for the animated texture. And then we have the regular texture things here. And then you have the individual textures here. That might sound a little confusing. It is. I don't really need to get into all that. I'm just trying to give you an outline there. So cursor down, it's just a sprite that we animate. I'm not going to save that because maybe I changed something I didn't mean to. So that's the tree, right? The label has these settings. You want auto wrap. You want probably you want to clip text. If I don't have that, you can see it pops out of the box. Really, you want to handle that, before it clips out. And we'll talk about that. Now I just have filler text. This is lorem ipsum. Left align, top V align. Trying to see if I modified anything else. No. Vertical, we do expand and fill. You can see it does not expand automatically if you don't have, like by default, the label is going to shrink center. So we definitely want fill and expand. That way it goes through the whole box. And the margin container, just give it a few, within your theme. You can see I'm using the theme if I go up to my top dialog box. I have my farming theme here. But you'll want to make your own theme. And maybe that's another video I should tackle, because the theme is something I use all the time. But if you struggle with that, you can probably find another resource for it in the meantime. They're not too complex. You just kind of go through and like you pick the type that you want to add something for, right? Like HBox, and then you would hit add type instead. And I don't think I have anything for HBox. Let me see. No, but I do have VBox, so I can show you kind of like what pops up. And so you have separation. And so VBox is probably the simplest one I've seen, is you just have that one variable. But if you look at something like button, you have all these different colors for the different states of the button. You have H separation, which is probably the separation between the icon and the text. You can override the font. I think anything that has a text component, you can override the font. And then we have the box for the button, which I've replaced with an empty style box because I don't, for my particular setup, I want just text. But I want the button functionality, so that's why I use that. And there's nothing on that one. So what you do is you just, like any control node that you want to modify, you have to add it, and then you want to make sure you save this. And if it's your first time saving it, you have to give it a name. And then at the top level of any control node based scene, you just send that theme in. You do quick load, you pick your theme here. What else? And while I'm talking about themes, I know I cover this at least in later videos, but the theme is always inherited. I don't know if you can override it, but by default, if you don't apply a theme, every scene and node below it is going to have that theme. So I don't want to get too much into themes with this. This is primarily a dialog box. But if you need to know about themes, please let me know, and I'll get a video out shortly. So we've looked over the excuse me, the scene and its nodes and what's happening in these nodes. Now let's look at the script. So I click on that. Feel free to copy this down. See at the top, and you can pause that, and then you have the bottom. So it's about 50 lines, so it's not too bad. Now I'll walk through. You should have this code probably copied down at this point, or just watch the video and then copy it down, and or even better, try and recreate it after I tell you how it works, and then you can come back. That's really a better learning exercise. So we have a signal for close. We use that to communicate when the box is done. That's helpful in things like battle when we want to know that we're at the end of the text. We have a toggle for handling input. By default, we do want the text box to handle input. We would set that to false in the battle. For example, if I think I can show you exactly how I use this. Let's look up. So we have dialog box. Let's call that dialog box. And then it would be handle input, right? Yeah. It's the first line and ready. So you can see I'm setting auto advanced text to the opposite of handling input in the dialog box, which means if the dialog box is handling input, we do not want to auto advance text, and vice versa. If it's not handling input, we do want to auto advance text. And so that gives me two options that I can easily toggle within my battle. Let's see. And oh no, I'm sorry, I had that backwards. I set auto advanced text in here in the battle, and then that that dictates whether the dialog box handles input. I was originally saying that backwards. So we have a lines array, which is what holds the text. Then we have a reference to the label, which is down here. When we enter tree, excuse me, this is something I use in my project. Global script where I always have a reference to the dialog box. I don't know if I even am calling that in this project yet. Let me do a quick search. We do use it in the NPC because I have one dialog box in the GUI here for the main game, and so I always want to have a reference to that. And I do, let me go back to dialog box. I do enter tree instead of ready because when I go to battle, there's a dialog box in there, so that's becoming the global dialog box for that moment. And then when the game re-enters the tree, right, this one, we want to reset that. That's kind of the general idea. We always want to make sure we're clear when we start, right? We don't want this placeholder text. I do recommend you having placeholder text just so you can get an idea for the layout. We have an input function. We're just checking if we press accept or cancel. Either way, we're going to advance the text. It looks like in this one I don't have where you press B to auto-complete the text. I don't even think I have typewriter text on this. No, I don't. Now, I've made that before, but on this one I'm just doing immediate text. And so if you really want typewriter text or something, I mean, that's probably something I'll cover anyway, because a lot of people I know will probably want that. We always want to handle our input so it doesn't continue up the tree or down the tree. Clear, we set text to nothing, we hide, we stop processing. That I don't even need in this version. That was when I had the typewriter text, I believe, and sound effects and stuff. And then we tell everyone we closed it. When we advance, we check if we have any lines. And if we do, wait, what is that? If not lines, we clear and return. Oh, so if we're at the end, if we're on the last line, right, we've already put that from the lines array into the text label, then we're just going to clear the text and exit. Down here, let's see. If our text is empty, we're going to add a new line. That's what that means. So that's like pressing enter, that when you add that string. Otherwise, we're going to show and make sure we're processing the input. And then we add the text. And so lines.pop front, that's getting the first element of that array, removing it and returning it. So in that one function, we take it out and we return it, and then we apply it to dialog.text. But I'm adding it specifically. You might not want that. If you want the text to change each time, you would do equals, okay? You might also want to give yourself a little challenge and try and code a way to toggle that. Right? And I'll give you a hint that it's going to be a Boolean variable that you have to set, okay? And then add text, that is what we call to begin the dialog box. So it's always going to take a text array. And we check, if that text array even has anything, and then we append the text. Now it doesn't check if these are strings. It assumes that we know that much, right? And I'll show you how we use that in reality. That's probably just a recap for you guys, but we might as well. So if I do a search on my dialog box in my battle script, let's see what we can get to come up. animate bottom. That's just the animation of it. So here's how we're using it. It's primarily in, like if I go up to run event. Now, depending on where you are in the series, this might be different from how you're seeing it because I've modified things as I go along. Regardless, we have, like based on the type of action that the actor is taking, we are setting up the text array accordingly. So you can see I initialize it here as an empty array, and then we send text to that array in this format. I split it up on lines. That's a pretty common thing for things like arrays where you have a lot of information in one array that you're manually putting in like that. So we add 2 lines at once here. You can see we have the hit text and then we have the damage text. And then down here we check if the target is defeated and then we add defeated text. Text.append, that's a way to add that. Really, I tell you what, I should be doing text.append array. And we call that. So I'm changing that in real time because that's technically a better option. Because that way we're not assuming that that's always going to be the first text. So we have append, and then we have append array when we want to append the whole array. But actually, I know how my text box works, and that's not going to work. I think. Let's see. Append array 2. No, that does work. That's exactly what we want. So these will all be in that array. If we defend, the text is going to be that. I think I better do append here as well. Then we check if we have any text, which I could probably just do if text instead of that, but that's all right. Then we add the text right there. And how I use the auto advanced text is we check that variable, right, that we set up here. That's the inverse of, or that returns the inverse of handle input, right? Or vice versa, sorry. So for auto advancing text, we want to loop through that text. I'm not using the I, so I underscore it in front. And it's just a simple, we yield using that wait function that we made for the default wait time until that's completed. And we advance the dialog box. And so this goes on a loop, and say this is like, I don't know, a quarter of a second. Every 0.25 seconds, right? This is going to advance. And once it's through all of the text, we go down here and do our target checks. Again, this is probably added later in the series. I think that's it. Now you can see here though that if we're not auto advancing text, we're just waiting for the dialog box to close. That's because we're waiting for the player to advance through all the text. Okay, and I think in my current build, we open battle back up. I think I'm actually not using the auto advance. So if I click up here, I can see that variable is false. So we are not auto advancing. And that means I have to kind of like mash the accept input to get through it. Well, I'll probably have a toggle for that for the player down the road. Anyway, I think that covers the dialog box. I'm trying to think if there's anything I missed. Oh, the cursor down. I don't think I talked about that. Now, I'm not sure why this isn't playing in the editor. If I run the game, and let's go check out a dialog box because I want to make sure. Okay. That's just something I fixed from another video. Oh, of course, now I'm getting I'm getting bugs that are preventing me from loading the game. Let me see if I can quickly debug these, and then we'll get back to our originally planned programming. So I think we need to do if magic to return that. Else we're going to return all. Oh, come on. We're so close. Valget index 0 on base array. I don't know how many things, like, the game was working, right? But I guess I wasn't running the whole game when I was changing things up. Get index 0 on array. So I know, the player doesn't have any data because I'm not calling that. Yeah, this won't take me too long, I don't think. Let's see, so we want... Let's see, we're going to do function init player arrays. Just making that so that we can get to running this thing. So actually I want to get rid of this check. I won't need it now. I had modified how I handle data, and that's why it's breaking. Because I'm actually working on the character creation screen and the file select screen. So at the moment, it was waiting on the player data to get created, but I'm just patching it up so that we can run it outside of that. And now I need to call player.init equipment magic. Isn't that showing up? So we don't have a type. Let's go up here, just get the name init equipment magic. If we're lucky, that'll cover our bases there. Beautiful. So if I talk to, okay, of course now I changed my input key. Yeah, we can see that that cursor does bounce. It's supposed to bounce at the end of the text. I'll go into battle. I really need to get my cursor, my new cursor implemented in here. Okay. It's a little hard to see the menu without the cursor. So that works. Now, if you had a typewriter text, you would want this to only show up when that text is done, because that's indicating to the player that, like, hey, you need to advance the text. So that's why we have that. Again, I'm not sure why it's not playing in the editor when we're just in its scene. Maybe I'm overlooking something here, and I'll blame not having coffee yet for that. But that's our dialog box. You can see how it works. And let me know if I missed anything, or if you need anything explained in better detail. And like I said, try and recreate it on your own maybe, and then come back and see how you did if it's not working. All right, good luck.